movie is named Nobody's Fool, and it stars Rosanna Arquette as a small-town waitress who's trying to recover from the shock of being abandoned by her boyfriend. She acts sort of goofy all the time in this film, maybe as a cover-up for the much deeper emotions that she feels because she was pregnant when the boyfriend bailed out and she had to give the baby up for adoption. Now she gets some advice from her best friend, played by Mara Winningham, who thinks it's time for her to make a fresh start in life. There's a summer theater in the town, and Eric Roberts works in the backstage crew. Arquette meets him in the park, and she starts to like him. But she's still hung up on her old boyfriend, and in a flashback, she remembers her rejection.
I thought we were going to get married.
Still look, don't.
You told me you love little babies. You told me you love my meat pot pie. Now you're telling me you want to split 50-50 and you don't feel ready to cash in your chips?
Stooley, settle down.
Well, it's too late. Your chips are cashed. I'm sorry, they're cashed.
Stooley, people are staring at us. Pop your top. Come on.
Roberts tries to set her at ease by confessing his own shortcomings.
You know, when I was 3 years old, I strangled a white kitten to death with my bare hands. At 9 years old, I cracked open my favorite girlfriend's skull with a steel pipe. Wham! She was out like a light. At 13, I listened to my mother's employer, Mrs. Bessel, choke to death while I was living nurse on the bathroom floor. At 19, I was a certifiable dope dealer and my best customer. Whoa! It's okay, I got it. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Okay, here we go.
And so the whole movie comes down to, is this true love? And if it is, will she drop everything and move to Los Angeles with him?
Look, I'm leaving town right after the show tonight. If you decide that you want to go with me for some unknowable reason, just be at my place and we'll split.
Rosanna Arquette creates a nice, winsome, lovable goofball in this movie. In fact, I like her in almost everything she's done in the movie. She has a real appealing quality about her, and Eric Roberts is good too. He's a little more toned down here from his usually very intense performing style, which is sometimes really too intense for some of his material. I like their relationship, but what I didn't like about Nobody's Fool was the way the movie used flashbacks in order to gradually reveal the story of Arquette's earlier boyfriend and that pregnancy that was so traumatic for her. If the story had been told from beginning to end, I would have had a lot more sympathy for her, but with all those flashbacks, the movie waited too long to tell me why I should really care about this woman, and as usual, what flashbacks in a movie often call attention to is really just the style of the writing and the directing. A movie like this depends so much on sympathy for the characters that the filmmakers and their style should try to remain in the background. Nobody's Fool has some good stuff in it, but it's a disappointment, and even though I like Rosanna Arquette, I have to vote thumbs down.
I vote thumbs down completely. There wasn't much I liked about it at all, and if you'll take out those flashbacks that you object to, and I think properly so, I think they would have had time to build more interest in the characters. I thought the characters actually were kind of flimsy. She's just generic girl, small-town girl, held back. He's just... Well, he has a more interesting past than the kind of character we've met. I mean, he's had a troubled past. He's extremely violent, and he does break out into, again, Eric Roberts gets caught up in being violent too much. And if you had taken the time out, we don't really care about this other pregnancy and this other character that comes in. Just tell the story straight, as you said.
Well, you would probably care about it if it began at the beginning of the movie, because then you could see where she came from. But here, we see her acting in a very peculiar manner for a long time before we know exactly why.
That's it.
Then, of course, that kind of sabotages the end of the movie, because once we now care for her and want her not to be hurt again, we're asking ourselves,
is this the right guy?
Maybe she shouldn't go off with this guy. He seems to be a little bit weird himself.
Yes, he is weird, and I'll tell you, I thought the movie was very flat, traditional backstage romance, and the guy takes the girl and rescues her. And frankly, she should have been given much more interest in her character so that some guy doesn't have to save her, because that's sort of chauvinistic, isn't it?
Especially if it's Eric Roberts who's going to save him.
Yeah, and especially Rosanna Arquette, who can save herself. She's been stronger in other movies.
We were in agreement that Nobody's Fool was a love story that alternated between being too cute and too violent, so 2 thumbs down.